Welcome back. We are discussing Chapter 7, Collecting, Displaying, and Analyzing Data. And today we are starting Lesson 3, Populations and Samples. So the survey topic today is about number of books read by 7th graders in Richmond. Richmond is a city, okay? So there's a couple different vocabulary terms that we're going to discuss. A population is the whole group that is being studied. So within this particular example, number of books read by 7th graders in Richmond, the population are all of the 7th graders in the city of Richmond. That is what the population is. Now, a sample is a part of the population. So not the whole population, it's just a little itty bitty part of the population. So one example of a possible sample would be all of the 7th graders at Jefferson Middle School, a middle school that is within the city of Richmond. That could be a sample. Now, a random sample is a sample in which each member of the population has a random chance of being chosen. A random sample is a better representation of a population than a non-random sample. So an example of a random sample would be something like you have a computer and every 10th name from an alphabetical list of each 7th grader in the city of Richmond. So you have a computer that lists every single 7th grader alphabetically in Richmond, and you just choose every 10th name. So that would be a random sample, because what would happen is you would have 7th graders from all over the city. You wouldn't just have 7th graders at one particular middle school. So if you have 7th graders from just one particular middle school, like this first one, that wouldn't necessarily represent the entire population of the 7th graders in the city of Richmond. So yeah, whenever you're doing populations and your studies, you're studying populations, you want to try to get a random sample of the population as best that you can. And what they say sometimes, if you're able to create an actual random sample, that will tell you the same information that you would get as if you studied the entire population. So this idea of using random samples is very, very big in statistics. So you always want to try to get a random sample. Okay, the next vocabulary term that we are going to discuss is a bias sample. A bias sample is a sample that does not truly represent the population. And this is something that you don't want, okay? An example of a bias sample would be all of the 7th graders in Richmond who are enrolled in honors English classes. So if you're trying to collect data on all of the 7th graders in Richmond, if you just collect data from the 7th graders that are in honors English classes, that is not going to be representative of the entire 7th grade population, because not everybody's in honors English class. That would really only represent the data on whoever was in the honors English classes. So that would represent that type of population, but it wouldn't represent the entire population of 7th graders in the city of Richmond. Okay, let's go ahead and look at some different examples and we can see how this is applied. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell if each sample is biased and then explain our answer. So number 1 states an airline surveys passengers from a flight that is on time to determine if passengers on all flights are satisfied. We need to determine if this is biased or not. What do you think? An airline surveys passengers from a flight that is on time to determine if passengers on all flights are satisfied. Now, to me, this is definitely biased, okay? So this is biased, 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 biased. The sample is biased. And the reason why it's biased is it's asking people are happy. Their flights are on time. And so if you're asking people that are happy because their flight's on time, how they feel about flights, of course they're going to be satisfied. What would be better is to have a random sample where you are able to randomly sample people that are on a bunch of different airlines. So you're going to have people that are on time and that are suffering delays. And then that's going to give you a more accurate response on how passengers are feeling on how satisfied they are on all flights. So, excuse me. So if, so the sample is biased. It only surveys passengers that flights are on time. Flights are on time. It only surveys passengers that flights are on time and they are going to be satisfied. Okay, let's go on to number 2. And number 2 says a newspaper randomly chooses 100 names from its subscriber database and then surveys those subscribers to find if they read the restaurant reviews. Is this biased? And what I would say is because a newspaper randomly chooses 100 names from its subscriber database, this sample is not biased. The sample is not biased. It is a random sample. It is a random sample, which is wonderful. Okay, let's look at problem 3. Problem 3 states the manager of a bookstore sends a survey to 150 customers who were randomly selected from a customer list. Okay, is this a biased survey or an unbiased survey? What do you think? With problem number 3, what I'm going to say is this is not a biased survey because it was sent out to customers who were randomly selected from a customer list. The manager of a bookstore sends a survey to 150 customers who were randomly selected from a customer list. So yeah, I'm going to say the sample is not biased. It is a random sample. Okay, on to problem 4. A team of researchers surveys 200 people at a multiplex movie theater to find out how much money state residents spend on entertainment. A team of researchers surveys 200 people at a multiplex movie theater to find out how much money state residents spend on entertainment. So what do you think? Is this a biased survey or an unbiased survey? I think that this is definitely a biased survey. The sample is biased. The reason is they're trying to find out how much money state residents spend on entertainment. Well, if they only go to a movie theater, they're only talking to people who already spend money on entertainment. State residents, there's going to be people who go to the movie theater and that don't go to the movie theater. But if they're researching people that are already all at an entertainment facility, of course their numbers are going to be higher than if they did a random sample. So the sample is biased. It only surveys people who are spending money on entertainment. So whatever figure they would get would most likely be higher than if they did a random survey of if they were able to randomly select people from the state and then ask them the same question. So yeah, that is how looking at different surveys and samples and determining if they're biased or not biased. That's how that works. So we will see you next time.